Hey, just wanted to let you guys know that I'll be doing a Barret only challenge here on the show soon, so be sure to check that out. I don't mean only using Barret though. I mean Barret only. Barret Wallace. Tough on the outside, tough on the inside. Barret's story is one of great tragedy and passion. On the surface, Barret seems like a righteous man, fighting for survival of the planet and the safety of his daughter. But deeper down, he harbors a true incentive full of rage and revenge. Only near the end of his journey does he realize his problem and comes to terms with his own aggression. He realizes his true reason for fighting should be the people he loves and the planet he lives on, rather than his past mistakes and troubles. One of the biggest conflicts Barret faces is his desire to protect Marlene, which comes to a head when he meets Eris's adoptive mother, Elmira. Elmira asks Barret how he could leave Marlene alone, and Barret struggles to give her a real answer. He wants to be with Marlene to protect her, but he also knows that he must protect the planet in order to keep Marlene safe. As a result of his inner struggles and hatred for Shinra, Barret does not see eye to eye with Cloud. However, as the story progresses and Barret begins to learn more about himself and his own motivations, he also begins to form a strong bond with Cloud. Instead of bossing everybody around, he begins to learn the strength of working together. Barret grew up in the mining village of Coral, also pronounced Coral. His wife, Myrna, becomes ill, and Barret hopes that the newly built Coral Mako reactor will bring the town out of poverty, leading to better medicine for his wife, as well as a better life for his town. Unfortunately, the reactor is taken over by Avalanche. Not the Avalanche created by Barret later, but the original Avalanche created in Before Crisis Final Fantasy VII, led by Elf and Fujito, two extremely radical terrorists who basically had the same goal as the future Avalanche: stop the use of Mako as an energy source and destroy Shinra. Barret helps the Turks in their mission to take back the reactor from Avalanche, but the mission doesn't go as planned, and in the end, Shinra destroys Coral, believing that the people of Coral were in on the Avalanche takeover. Barret and his childhood friend, Dyne, are cut off on their way to rescue the people of Coral by Shinra soldiers. Dyne falls off a cliff during the shooting. Barret catches him, but both are shot in the hands by Scarlet. Dyne plummets to his apparent death, and Barret, having no home, friends, or family, finds Dyne's daughter Marlene and travels to Cosmo Canyon. In Cosmo Canyon, he learns of the creation of Avalanche, and soon travels to Midgar to start his own second incarnation of Avalanche, pledging revenge against the people responsible for everything he had lost. On December 9th, Year 7, Barret leads a raid on the Sector 1 reactor in Midgar with the newly reformed Avalanche consisting of Biggs, Wedge, Jessie, Tifa, who isn't on this mission, and her childhood friend Cloud. Against his better judgment, Barret agrees to hire Cloud when Tifa asks because he trusts his abilities as a former soldier member. This decision pays off as the attack on the reactor is a success, and afterwards Barret agrees to rehire Cloud for an attack on the Sector 5 reactor, even though his price is steep. During the next mission, Barret comes face to face with President Shinra, who he proceeds to curse at before being attacked by Airbuster. Barret and crew defeat Airbuster, Cloud is split up from the team, and Tifa leaves to attempt to squeeze info out of Don Corneo, a Shinra informant. While Tifa and Cloud are gone, the Turks unleash an attack on the Sector 7 pillar, with a plan to crush Avalanche and the rest of Sector 7 by knocking down the Sector 7 plate. Barret and the rest of Avalanche attempt to stop him, but Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge are all defeated, leaving Barret alone to fight off the Shinra soldiers. Tifa and Cloud arrive, but the bomb is already set and they are forced to flee, barely escaping the falling plate. Barret loses his mind, realizing that Biggs, Jessie, Wedge, and Marlene have all been killed in the destruction, but Tifa tells him that Marlene is safe thanks to Eris. Barret pulls himself together and agrees to join Cloud in his rescue mission to save Eris, as he feels he owes her for saving Marlene. The group visits Elmira, and Elmira asks Barret how he can live with himself leaving Marlene alone when he goes to fight Shinra. As discussed before, Barret has a hard time giving an answer, as he is torn between saving the world for Marlene and physically keeping her safe in the moment. Barret then runs upstairs and has a tearful reunion with Marlene. Afterwards, he asks Elmira to take Marlene and flee Midgar as it is no longer safe. Later, it is revealed that Elmira does take this advice and takes Marlene to Calm. Barret joins Cloud on his attack on Shinra HQ, and using his excellent tactical strategy he learned leading Avalanche, suggests that the team barge right in the front door. Inside the HQ, the group meets Red 13, and later Barret is locked in a cell with the new teaming. Barret gets to know Red 13 a bit, being locked up with him, and they learn that they have a lot in common, both having a love for the planet and both having studied in Cosmo Canyon. After the president is killed and the group escapes, the team meets up in Calm. Barret listens to Cloud's story, being the first other than Tifa to begin noticing inconsistencies in his memory. Afterwards, Barret decides to continue following the team in order to stop Sephiroth and Shinra from reaching the Promised Land and putting the world in danger. On the Shinra cargo ship, Barret wears a disguise with the rest of the team and spies on Rufus. When the team reaches Costa del Sol, Barret gets angry when the other party members call him cute in his uniform, but later he can be seen looking at himself in a mirror. Later, the party reaches North Coral, a town built by the survivors of the Coral attack built by the ruins of the Coral reactor. The townspeople condemn Barret, blaming him for the destruction of the town both for helping with the building of the reactor and his absence during the Shinra attack on the town. Barret takes the beating, having already come to terms with his own guilt, knowing that it was his fault the town was destroyed and his wife was killed. Barret's anger builds as the party ride up towards the gold saucer, soon after resulting in Barret exploding on the party and storming off. The party then stumbles upon several dead civilians at the battle arena. One survivor reveals that the killer had a gun arm, and before the party can decide if Barret could be the killer, Dio arrests them and throws them in the Coral prison. Down in the prison, the party tries to confront Barret, who continues to ask to let him face his past alone. After some persistence, Barret finally explains his story to the party. Afterwards, Barret states that he must find Dyne and apologize, so the group sets off across the desert to find him. They arrive at Dyne's hideout and realize that he has gone completely mental. After the disaster, Dyne lost a part of himself and decided that the only way to right the world is to destroy it. The killings of the gold saucer were just the beginning for Dyne. He wants to destroy not only the Shinra, but everybody and everything. He reveals that the only reason he didn't hunt down Barret was because his dead wife, Eleanor, told him not to from beyond the grave. Barret tells Dyne that he found Marlene in the wreckage of the town and has been raising her all this time, hoping that one day he could find him and bring her back to him. Dyne decides that he must kill Marlene so that his wife won't be alone in the afterlife anymore. And in order to do that, he must kill Barret first. The two fight, and after Barret defeats him, Dyne decides he is a lost cause and must remove himself from the planet. He says that his hands are too stained to carry Marlene anymore. He gives Barret his wife's pendant to give to Marlene, and with the words, "Don't ever make her cry," he casts himself off of a cliff. Barret then exclaims that he and Dyne were the same, and he shouldn't be able to hold Marlene either. As the party continues their quest towards Sephiroth, Barret begins to develop a large amount of respect for Cloud. This theme is important as it is a direct reversal of his attitude towards Cloud during the opening mission of the game. This respect is so great that it is even possible for Barret to be picked as Cloud's date during the second visit to the Gold Saucer. If Barret is picked, the play scene is never acted out as the Gold Saucer employee doesn't recognize them as a couple, but the gondola scene is still played out in all of its glory. During the ride, Barret tries to figure out which girl Cloud is interested in, which helps to support an underlying theme of Cloud's dual personality, as at this point, Cloud is still confused as to who he really is. Barret then accuses Cloud of having a crush on Marlene, which is incredibly weird since at the time of this scene, Cloud is 21 years old and Marlene is only 4. Barret then proceeds to become enraged at the thought that Marlene isn't there to see the fireworks and begins shooting at them. It truly is a beautiful end to a beautiful night. Afterwards, the same scene plays out as normal as Barret and Cloud catch Cait Sith stealing the Keystone. Although the part afterwards where Cait Sith reveals that he has Marlene in captivity holds even more weight when Barret is there to witness it. When the party reaches Cosmo Canyon, Barret has a short revelation as he reminisces on his past experiences there. He questions if the Avalanche members would ever forgive him, and vows to protect the planet regardless of what people think his motivations are, exclaiming that Avalanche is born again. Barret, although filled with rage and unsure of his motives and actions, continues to be a rock for Cloud when he needs him. When Cloud gives up the black materia to Sephiroth, he considers quitting the journey, not wanting to let Sephiroth control him again. Barret supports him, telling him there ain't no getting off of this train we on. He also tells him, how many people in this world do you think really understand themselves? People get depressed in life because they don't know what's up, but they go on living. They don't run away. That's just how it is. He shows great mental fortitude and trust in Cloud as he tells Tifa to give him some space, saying that if she trusts in Cloud, then it'll all work out. He then ensures Cloud that if he does go crazy again, he will be there to bring him back to normal. While climbing the Great Glacier, Barret reveals his own uncertainty again when he realizes the glacier is the opposite of Midgar. He says, "Seeing a place like this makes you realize how awesome nature is. But if anyone ever told me to live here, I'd tell them to, well, you know. I'll tell you one thing though, if I did have to live here, I'd change things around and make it better." I guess Midgar is the total opposite of this place. When you think of it that way, the Shinra don't seem so bad. What the hell am I saying? The Shinra? Not bad? Barret's ability to understand and appreciate the land is directly correlated to his time in Cosmo Canyon before the start of the game. Unfortunately, Barret's promise to protect Cloud falls through, as the real Sephiroth uses Cloud to obtain the black materia and summon Meteor. During the approach to the crater, Barret is one of the team members Cloud can choose to give the black materia for safekeeping, showing that Cloud does trust Barret in return. After the weapons are released, Barret and Tifa are captured and set to be publicly executed. Barret once again shows his true nature as he demands that he is executed first in hopes that Tifa can be saved. He is then rescued by Cait Sith, a very interesting reversal for Barret as he is being rescued by a member of Shinra. Although he seems to still distrust Cait Sith, he calls him his partner and teams up with him to save Tifa. Also on the side, I just want to highlight this little scene here because this is such a great shot of Barret. When the group finds catatonic Cloud, Barret relapses into a depressive state, stating that Cloud may just be nothing more than Sephiroth's shadow. This reflects Barret's lack of understanding of the events that have happened thus far, which matches his attitude throughout the game, constantly interrupting people and not listening to the group's discussions. He even asks Tifa if Cloud is really her childhood friend, then immediately apologizes for asking. Barret then realizes that he isn't fit to be a leader and hands over the leader role to Sid. During the huge materia quest, the party can save North Coral from the Shinra train, fail to save the town, or miss the train completely. Because North Coral isn't a relevant town in any of the post-Final Fantasy VII stories, we don't really know which event is canon. If the party does save the town, the townspeople revere Barret as a hero, bringing some much-needed redemption to Barret's story. When Diamond Weapon emerges from the ocean, Barret and Cait Sith have one last argument. Barret asks what will happen to Marlene if Diamond Weapon attacks Midgar, to which Cait Sith confirms that Marlene is safe with Elmyra. Cait Sith then berates Barret, saying he's been itching for a while to tell him that his act first think later style has killed many people in the process. He blames Barret for only thinking about the planet and Marlene and killing many innocents as a result. Barret replies with, "That was for the life of the planet, you gotta expect a few casualties." Cait Sith then says since nobody would go against him, he thinks he can do whatever he wants, to which Barret replies, "I don't want to hear that from no one in Shinra." As the party prepares to fight Sephiroth, Cloud asks everybody to look inside themselves and truly find what they are fighting for. Barret has a pinnacle revelation about himself, stating, "You're right. It sounds cool saying it's to save the planet, but I was the one who blew up that Mako reactor. Looking back on it now, I can see that wasn't the right way to do things. I made a lot of friends and innocent bystanders suffer. At first, it was revenge against Shinra for attacking my town. But now, yeah, I'm fighting for Marlene. For Marlene, for Marlene's future, yeah, I guess I want to save the planet for Marlene's sake. Unfortunately, even though the team does save the planet from Sephiroth and Meteor Fall, Barret continues to struggle with his inner demons. Barret reunites with Marlene and Calm, but in the case of Barret's short story, he leaves Marlene in the care of Tifa and Cloud and goes on a journey to both find a new energy source to replace Mako and to clear himself of his inner demons and find peace. He meets with a doctor in order to create a new enhancement for his gun arm, a normal working arm that will allow Barret to blend in better as a normal civilian. The doctor tells him the upgrade will take a week, and in the meantime, Barret meets a coal mechanic who helps him realize that he needs to tame the monster inside him, a retired Shinra crew member who piloted the now-sunken Galnica plane, and witnesses the pilot's daughter passing away to a new illness called geostigma. Barret also meets up with Sid in Rocket Town, who is working on a new airship later to be called the Shara. Barret realizes that the airship might be the only way to get help to all the people affected by geostigma, and actually considers bringing Mako energy back as a way to power it. Sid says that even if they did, the planet has moved the lifestream concentrations away from the old Shinra reactors, and now that Shinra has been destroyed, there would be no way to build new ones. Sid then shows Barret a new substance he found called oil, but says the ideal place to build an oil field in is monster-ridden. With a newfound desire to help Sid power his airship and save those affected by geostigma, Barret returns to the doctor and tells him to forget about the arm upgrade. Although this is a very fitting end to the story, Barret apparently does get the arm upgrade eventually, as it can be seen multiple times in Advent Children. Barret does appear with the other party members in Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus, but only as a helping hand. In Final Fantasy VII, Barret is a very important character that sticks with the team for nearly the entire journey. Although he is never team leader like Cloud, Tifa, or Sid, he is the second recruited member and joins only minutes into the game, never leaving except for a few small occurrences. Barret is one of the best characters thematically, as he looks and acts as he should, a tanky bruiser. His strength and defense stats are very high, and his magic stat is weak. His limits match his character as well, as they consist of very brute and powerful blows with his gun arm. His first limit break, Big Shot, shoots one giant blast for 3 1/4 times damage. His second limit, Mind Blow, drains MP from one target. Mind Blow is a very strange limit that has always perplexed players, as it seems to do nothing at all versus many enemies. The reason for this is because Mind Blow is coded as a gravity-based attack, unlike the much better MP draining attack Magic Hammer, which deals static damage. Because of this, many bosses are immune to Mind Blow, as the programmers didn't want to make too many bosses susceptible to gravity, since high HP enemies susceptible to gravity can mean too much easy damage. Barret's third limit, Grenade Bomb, launches a grenade at multiple enemies, dealing a maximum of 3 3/8 times damage if there is only one target. His fourth limit, Hammer Blow, causes death to a single enemy if they aren't immune. His fifth limit, Satellite Beam, deals only 2 3/16 times damage to all enemies, but it automatically crits. His sixth limit, Angermax, or Ungermax, deals 18 hits randomly for half damage, and is potentially tied for the strongest attack in the game if Barret is already dealing max damage. His ultimate limit break, Catastrophe, hits 10 times at random for 1 1/4 times damage. By pure number calculation alone, and not taking into consideration the damage cap, Catastrophe is actually the strongest limit in the game. Omnislash can potentially do more damage, since it automatically crits, but Catastrophe, by pure calculation, does the most raw damage in the game. Barret's weapons tend to be pretty strong and feature a few close-range weapons in addition to his long-range weapons. His ultimate weapon, the Missing Score, is by far the strongest weapon in the game, as it gains power based on how much AP is on the materia equipped to it. This is not only an easy effect to use, as most players will already have plenty of high-leveled materia by the time they obtain the weapon, but can be manipulated using Knights of the Round materia, which has a staggering 500,000 AP at mastered level to easily overflow the damage values in the game, causing an overflow glitch and killing any enemy in the game in one shot, except for Ruby Weapon. A common myth in the Final Fantasy VII community is that the underwater materia can obtain infinite AP and therefore could also be used to boost the missing score to astronomical levels, but unfortunately this myth is untrue. The underwater materia does gain AP and can even be mastered at 16,777,215 AP, but unfortunately it seems the programmers were aware of this and set the missing score to always treat the underwater materia as if it has 0 AP. Overall, Barret is easily one of the best characters in the game. His high defense and attack combined with the fact that most of his weapons are long range means that he will deal high damage and take very low damage if placed in the back row. He has the strongest raw damage limit in the game, as well as one of the 2 strongest limits in the game at max damage numbers. He is also a part of the party since the beginning of the game, meaning his level will most likely be comparable to Cloud's if he is used most of the time, and will most likely have a lot of his limit breaks unlocked simply by playing the game through casually. And if all that wasn't enough, he has the best ultimate weapon in the game. His only true flaw is his lack of magic defense, which in the original game couldn't be remedied easily thanks to a bug that caused the magic defense values of armor to not add to a character's stats. In the newer ports of the game that have fixed the magic defense bug, any high-level armor like the Mistile will easily make up for this weakness. Barret was one of the first characters designed for Final Fantasy VII, and his finished design is the closest to his original. According to an interview, Tetsuya Nomura wanted to create Barret's and Kate Sith's character for a very long time, and the rest of the characters were created as the game was developed. Barret's original story was nearly unchanged, although Marlene was originally planned to be Barret's biological daughter, and Barret's wife was originally going to survive the Shinra attack on Coral and be an NPC in the game. Barret and Dyne were still planned to have a confrontation, but it would have been during a fight between Avalanche and Shinra in the Coral Ruins. The leader of the Shinra attack also changed several times, including Heidegger and Reeve before Scarlet was eventually picked. There is also a deleted scene where Barret would have told the members of Avalanche that they would one day go to Cosmo Canyon after their mission to defeat Shinra was over. Although this scene was deleted, a reference to the scene was added later during the campfire scene where Barret says, "Cosmo Canyon, this is where Avalanche was born. I promised my guys someday, when we saved the planet from the Shinra, that we'd all go to Cosmo Canyon and celebrate. Biggs, Wedge, Jesse, now they're all gone. Died for the planet." Barret's job class is listed as Leader of Avalanche, but his original job was Gunner, a job that would later be introduced in Final Fantasy X-2. Barret's theme is played in Sector 7 just before the attack on the Sector 5 reactor, as well as during the gondola scene if he is picked as Cloud's date. The songs Mining Town and Mark of the Traitor also have elements of Barret's theme. Barret has an uncanny resemblance to American TV personality Mr. T, both in look and demeanor. This resemblance is so strong that Tetsuya Nomura reportedly changed Barret's look in Advent Children specifically to make him look less like Mr. T and more like his own original character. Barret's name has had a lot of translation changes and faux pas, much like the Eris Aerith debacle. The words bullet and Barret are phonetically identical in Japanese text, so many early pre-release Japanese publications used bullet as Barret's name. Other publications used the spelling Barret with 2 T's, while English publications used Barret with 2 R's. The 2 R spelling later became the universally used one. Barret spelled with 2 R's and 2 T's happens to be the name of an American firearms manufacturer known for making .50 caliber rifles. Barret's last name, Wallace, might be an allusion to William Wallace, a leader of the Scottish independence movement popularized in the movie Braveheart, since there are many parallels between William's revolt against the English and Barret's fight against the Shinra. Barret was the first dark-skinned playable character in Final Fantasy, with the exception of Final Fantasy VI's Leo, who was dark-skinned in his portrait but had a light-skinned sprite, which was most likely due to the color palette limitations of the Super Nintendo. Barret is referenced in a few other Square games, including Crisis Core and Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 includes Biggs, Wedge, Jesse, and a man named Wallace, although none of them look like their Final Fantasy VII counterparts. Thank you so much for watching this in-depth look at Barret. If you are interested in my channel, you can check out 48productions.com for more of my content, but most importantly, be sure to comment down below and tell me who you'd like to see an in-depth look at next.